It's a pleasure for me to welcome and introduce Dr. C. Sheila Shashikumar, Head Clinical Research and Product Development, High Care Super Specialty Hospital, Chennai. Dr. Sheila has around 28 years of rich experience in academics and research, especially in the fields of clinical biochemistry, nanotechnology, molecular biology, to name a few. In 2007, Dr. Sheila was awarded the E.P. Odum Gold Medal for her research activities from the Scientific Advisor to Prime Minister. Ma'am has to her credit 54 international and national publications to date and has guided 5 PhD candidates and 22 MPhil candidates. Here are a few examples of how versatile Dr. Sheila is. Editor, scientific and technical committee member in many reputed journals and magazines, chairperson of various national conferences, stem cell expert member, doctoral committee member in SRM University, membership in various societies like Society of Environmental Sciences, Indian Society of Arteriosclerosis, board member in various departments of the University of Madras. We are indeed privileged to have Dr. Sheila as our next speaker. Over to you, ma'am.
Hi. Hi, friends. Good afternoon to all. Welcome to today's webinar session on impact of nutrients on immune system or immune function. I appreciate the kind introduction given by Dr. Sitavi. Thank you, Doctor. I thank the principal, the staff members, and especially Dr. Reema of Jodhi Nivas College for providing me an opportunity to share my views on this COVID pandemic situation and the impact of nutrients on the function. The current pandemic is unique, not just because it is caused by new virus that puts everyone at risk, but also because the range of immune response is diverse and unpredictable. In some people, it is strong enough to defend and come across this infection, but in some others, it is mild, so it becomes in a range of infection. Eating enough nutrients is required for a health and also for the well functioning of immune function. Each stage
Ma'am,
of
ma'am, can you
hello.
share your hello, ma'am? Can you share your PPT?
Yeah, I'm sharing. Can you
Yes,
hear my voice, ma?
yes, ma'am.
So, as I told you, eating enough nutrients is required for health and immune function, and it relies upon the presence of many micronutrients, which we are going to see today. So, impact of micronutrients on immune function. So, you can reach me in my email ID if there are any queries. For more information on the nutrition, on immunity, and COVID-19 virus, please do visit my channel. I have numerous presentations being uploaded in my channel. So today the first speaker has given a very good detailed discussion about the coronavirus structure, the proteins and the infection and all those things. So today, having understood about all these things, today I'm going to just discuss what is the impact of our daily nutrients on our immune function and how to boost the immune function. So, novel coronavirus has rapidly become a global public health concern, spreading to most countries worldwide. So, according to the World Health Organization, the initial thing that is given is the virus that causes COVID-19 is in a family of virus called Coronaviridae. Antibiotics do not work against the virus. Some people who become ill with COVID-19 can also develop a bacterial infection as a complication in this case, and antibiotics may be recommended by a healthcare provider. So there is currently no licensed medication to cure COVID-19. If you have symptoms, call your healthcare provider. So we should understand there is no pharmacological strategy right now available for this virus. So current pandemic of COVID-19, where there is no effective preventive and curative medicine is available, a healthy immune system is going to serve as one of the most important weapons. Most public strategies being employed are currently reactive. Balanced nutrition, which can help in maintaining the immunity, is essential for prevention and management of viral infections. Immunonutrition could have an important preventative role, a form of prehabilitation, helping the body to cope up with potentially lethal viruses such as coronavirus. Prehabilitation, what do you mean by that? Interventions that can help to improve the patient health in advance of being exposed to a physiological stressor, so they are then better able to cope up with that stress. Viral clearance and infection recovery require activation of host immune response, and nutrition could be a means of achieving it. Immune competence happens in cases like undernutrition, protein energy malnutrition like kwashiorkor and marasmus, and micronutrient deficiencies of both vitamins and minerals, and being age-related lifestyle factors that can further hinder this mechanism. So, a functioning immune system is crucial in the fight against COVID-19. To maintain it, the body needs sufficient vitamins and other nutrients, but that is exactly what many people lack. So we are going to see what happens in that case. What is a balanced diet? So here we have to understand three terms: optimal nutrition, malnutrition, and overnutrition. We are more concerned with optimal nutrition rather than overnutrition and malnutrition. A balanced diet is a diet that contains adequate amount of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins that are going to be the macronutrients of a food, and adequate amount of, but a small amount of micronutrients like vitamins and minerals, along with water and roughage. This forms a balanced diet. Good nutrition plays a vital role in providing all the necessary nutrients which are required for the immune system support. So we understood what is a balanced diet. Nutrition is critical determinant. If your nutrition is rich in all the nutrients, or if a person consumes a well-balanced diet, then his immune system is supportive. So nutrition is a critical determinant of the outcome of host micropathogenic interactions through the modulation of the immune response. So what are these micronutrients which we are going to talk about today? Micronutrients, as the word suggests, it's micro, a very small amount, but definitely needed by the system. So what are the micronutrients that comprises in our diet? Vitamins and minerals. Vitamins and minerals are the chemical compounds needed by the body in a very small amount, but definitely needed. Their impact on body health are critical, and deficiency in any one of the nutrients, that is micronutrients, can cause severe and even life-threatening condition based on the variation of the deficiency or intensity of the deficiency. So first we'll see what are vitamins. Vitamins are chemical compounds which are present in both, especially in vegetables. The phytochemicals, the pigments that is present in vegetables are the good sources. The vitamins are generally classified as water soluble and fat soluble. So water soluble vitamins, as we say, it's a complex vitamins which is made up of ascorbic acid, that is vitamin C, and B complex, which is a group of B complex vitamins, which is going to be thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, biotin, pantothenic acid, which are going to be the energy releasing vitamins, and hematopoietic vitamins, which are very useful for the erythropoiesis to happen, is folic acid and vitamin B12. And the other group of vitamins that comes under this category is pyridoxine, vitamin B6, which is an important form of coenzymes, exist as pyridoxal and pyridoxamine. So these are the complete set of vitamins which are essential for metabolic reactions to happen in your body. The other group of vitamins are fat soluble vitamins. They are stored in the liver and it will be utilized by the system when it is in need. So under this fat soluble vitamins, we have vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin K, and vitamin E. Minerals. The next category of micronutrients are minerals. Minerals are inorganic substances required by the body in a very small amount for a variety of functions to happen in your body, including all cellular functions and immune reactions. The minerals are generally classified as minerals that are required in major amount and minor amount. So major category of minerals comprises of calcium, phosphorus, sodium, potassium, magnesium. Whereas trace element minerals are iron. In that also we need very importantly iron, iodine, fluorine, zinc, copper, cobalt, chromium, manganese, molybdenum, selenium, nickel, tin, silicon, and vanadium. And trace amounts with no function yet is lead, mercury, which comes under the heavy metal, which we are not bothered. So we are going to stress the trace elements from iron, iodine, fluorine, zinc, copper, cobalt, chromium, manganese, etc. So having understood what are the micronutrients that are present in the diet, if there are deficiency of either the vitamins or the minerals, then what happens is that it may lead to a clinical and public health magnitude in developing countries and account for significant morbidity and mortality due to this infection. Eating enough nutrients as a part of a varied diet is required for the health and function of all the cells, including the human immune cells. Our gut is going to be the major site of immune activity and the production of these antimicrobial proteins, and diet plays a vital role in that. So gut is the major site of the immune activity. Now let us come to the next part, what is called an immune system. So today we see that if your immune system is strong, you can withstand the infection, especially the innate immunity in COVID-19 crisis. So what is an immune system? As the name says, it is a system. It's a system made up of complicated network of cells or multifaceted, sophisticated network of cells. So it means from cells to tissues, tissues to the organs, group of organs form the system. Along with that, you have certain protein factors and chemicals which are involved in this to protect the host from the range of pathogens that we come across in our everyday life, including bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites, as well as our cancer cells. So normally our immune system is of two types, classified into two. It can be innate and adaptive. Innate is non-specific, whereas adaptive is specific. Innate is the first line of defense that comes across when the pathogen enters into the body. So here it can come under as first line of defense and second line of defense, which includes physical barriers like skin mucous membrane or defense mechanism and immune response. In case of adaptive, it is specific, it comes in the later life, but it retains the memory of the antigen and provides the immunological memory. So it can be of two types: humoral immunity comprised of B cells and cell-mediated immunity comprised of T cells. So our immune system, what is the importance of this immune system which we are going to talk today? It is active, always carrying out the surveillance. Like a camera, it is carrying out the surveillance and checks our body for any infection and protects our body even from the small particles that enters into the body. But its activity is enhanced little more if an individual becomes infected. So accompanied by the increased rate of metabolism. So when there is an infection going on, there will be increased rate of metabolism, requires more energy resources, substrates for the biosynthesis of many proteins that is involved in this defense mechanism, and regulatory molecules which is ultimately derived only from the diet we consume. So here diet plays a vital role. Adequate supply of all these nutrients are essential to balance and support the immune system to perform its function efficiently and make us survive. So here I have shown you the picture and the hyperlink is provided at the bottom. So it is a general view of antiviral immunity. So when any virus enters in the body, so how the immunity is created. So you can see the different type of cells. So you have the virus coming across. So here you have the role of many natural killer cells. Infection happens, cell lysis. So virus replication can be blocked. So the enzyme, RNA-dependent RNA polymerases can be blocked by the zinc so that replication or the life cycle of that virus will not happen. Or it can be the nucleus kappa factor that is going to play a role. Or here you have, this is about the innate mechanism, this is about the adaptive mechanism or adaptive immunity, where T and B lymphocytes play a vital role. So the antibodies will be produced, IgA, IgG, and IgM causes the neutralization of the viruses, and different T cells, T cytotoxic cells, T regulatory cells, T helper cells, everyone come in the picture, and it creates a immunity against this infection. So this is how generally when a virus enters into our body, many mechanisms comprises and join together and help us to invade this, come across this invasion of this virus and make us to survive. So for which our immune system should be very strong enough. Micronutrient nutrition is particularly important during this health crisis because good micronutrient nutrition reduces the risk of infections, infectious and non-communicable diseases, whereas when there is a malnutrition, it impairs the optimal growth and development and can leave people vulnerable to most of the comorbidities. The comorbidities can be diabetes, obesity, overeating causes obesity, hypertension, lifestyle disorders, smoking, alcohol, etc. So, what are the factors associated with the nutrition that decreases the immune function? So, when a person consumes a diet, if this diet is categorized as a poor diet in the sense lack of micronutrients and the essential nutrients, which can happen due to a low income, or lack of inadequate nutrients, stress, stress due to professional or personal, sedentary lifestyle. So here you can categorize the people as sedentary, moderate, hardworking, etc. In case of sedentary people who do not work much and sit in the place for a long time, and micronutrient poor food and obesity. So obesity will be the major cause of the other comorbidities that is going to happen. So when a poor diet due to these factors is consumed, any one of the factor, what happens is that it causes a suboptimal nutrition status. Remember, I told you earlier, nutrition can be malnutrition, optimal nutrition, or overnutrition. So when we require essentially the optimal nutrition. So when there is a problem associated in consuming this optimal nutrition, then it causes an impact in our immune function. So the poor diet causes a suboptimal nutritional status. Also, the suboptimal nutrition status can happen due to lifestyle disorders and lifestyle factors. So when there is a pollution, lack of sleep-wake rhythm is disturbed. So when the number of sleeping hours is reduced, and other factors like smoking, alcoholism, and stress, what happens is that it automatically causes suboptimal nutrition status, which leads to compromised immune function. So when the immune function is not supported, what happens is that we become the house for many infection, or this becomes a risk factor for infection. So this is how a diet has an impact on our immune function. So we need to be healthy physically, mentally. So physical, mental is very important. Mental balance and physical balance to avoid stress. So because stress has a negative impact on the immune function. So having known about this, what are the factors that is going to cause, now we'll see the importance of the micronutrients in the immune function alone. So micronutrients generally involved in creating an immunity or immune support or immune responses. Vitamins generally A, D, C, E, B6, B12 and B9. Whereas in minerals, the most important one which is going to play a vital role in the viral infection is going to be the zinc, followed by iron, copper, selenium, and magnesium. So vitamins and minerals play a vital role in regulating and shaping the immune response, essential for the normal capacity to develop the immune response. That is what I said about the immunocompetence. Immunocompetence is different from immunosenescence. Immunosenescence is a terminology where we'll apply for the aging. So as we age, there is a decrease in the immune response. That is called immunosenescence. So role of micronutrients in immune function. We'll see at which part of the immune system or the immunity these micronutrients are going to play a vital role. Now, the immune system, as I told you, has different line of defense. So the external and the internal. The external defense, the skin is the first one to come across any microbes. It can be pathogen or non-pathogen, or even in case of pollution. The skin followed by the mucous membrane of GI tract, respiratory tract, etc. And the secretions of saliva, tear glands, and the gastric cavity, that is the gastro secretion from the gastric glands. All these contains chemical substances that can create some antimicrobial activity. So this becomes the first line of defense. So internal barriers, the internal barriers are going to be the cells, particularly the immunological cells. So the first line of defense is created by phagocytes. So when any pathogen is not restricted at the gate of your first level, that means your skin or through the mucous membrane, that is especially through the nasal tract, what happens is that it come across this barrier. So the barrier is gone. So now comes the internal barrier. External barrier it has come across, and the internal barrier will be the cells, especially phagocytes and the natural killer cells. So this provides the innate immunity. So phagocytosis happens, and the particular pathogen will be destroyed. Now, the second line of defense, the adaptive immunity, as I said, both humoral and the cell-mediated immunity will be done by the T cells and the B cells. So T cells, I said, variety of T cells are being produced. This is cytotoxic cells, regulatory cells, helper cells, etc., which will cause the phagocytosis and eliminate the pathogen from the body. Similarly, the B cells eliminate the pathogens by producing the antibodies and stores the memory of the antigen in our body. So this is how the immune system work together in a coordinated fashion. So the coordination of both the defense mechanism, both external, internal, as well as innate and adaptive are required, for which a well-fed immune system provides defense against the pathogenic organisms. So any weakness in the sense that when there is a deficiency of any of the nutrients that is going to play a vital role in any of the process of this coordination could be potentially detrimental to the host. So let us see what is the first one. The first one, I said, it can be physical barrier and biochemical barriers. So physical and biochemical barriers are nothing but physical is going to be the skin, biochemical barriers is going to be the secretions from the saliva. This one is mainly the tears and the gastric secretion. So it includes the skin, GI tract, and the respiratory tract. So the physical barrier, the structural integrity of this physical barrier, structural and the functional integrity is maintained by the vitamins A, D, C, E, B6, B12, folate, and minerals like iron and zinc. So the first line of defense in our body is going to be the physical barriers, where vitamins and micronutrients play a role. The first line of defense can attack any pathogens like bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites, nematodes, pollen, dust, and toxic chemicals that come across due to the pollution of the environment. Maintenance of the structural and functional integrity of these mucosal cells in the innate barriers like skin and respiratory tract are maintained by these vitamins and minerals. The next defense mechanism where it plays a role is in innate immunity. I said innate immunity is the first immunity, non-specific immunity, but it is the first immunity to response. By birth, we acquire this. It creates a cellular response. So how this cellular response is created? The cells, the phagocytes, identify the pathogens, kill the pathogens, digest it by phagocytosis, and thus the pathogen-host interaction is prevented. Natural killer cells, they inject cytotoxic substances in the pathogens. Neutrophils and phagocytes are triggered, and reactive oxygen species and NO are produced during the oxidative burst, for which vitamin C, E, and minerals like zinc, iron, selenium, copper, and magnesium play a role. This oxidative burst is mainly created by C followed by E. So the next response of the innate immunity is biochemical response. So the biochemical response here, we mean the complement system activation, antimicrobial substance that is produced or antimicrobial peptides that is produced by our body. It discourages the growth. For example, in case of viral infection, which we are talking today, the interferons are going to be the major substance that will be produced at the initial stages of viral infections. And the pro-inflammatory cytokines are released, for which vitamins A, D, C, and minerals like zinc, iron, selenium, and copper play a vital role. Next is about the immune cells. For the differentiation, proliferation, and functioning and movement of these innate immune cells, we require the presence of these micronutrients. Foreign materials find a way to penetrate these physical and biochemical barriers, but they are not left as such. It is encountered by the second line of defense. So in case of the second line of defense, we are going to see what are the vitamins and minerals that play a vital role. So here I have given collectively all the vitamins that is involved in the second line of defense: A, D, C, E, B6, B12, folate, and minerals like zinc, iron, copper, magnesium, and selenium. The antimicrobial effects, for example, when the virus enters in the body, this is prevented by the substance that is produced, that is called interferons. So you have alpha interferons, beta interferons, gamma interferons, etc. Now these interferons will are proteins that can destroy the virus and defend the body by preventing the replication of this virus genome, or it prevents the life cycle of the virus that is happening inside the cell. For the production of interferon alpha, we require adequate amount of selenium supplementation. This is one example I'm providing you. Likewise, we have complex unstudied mechanism in the body. So vitamins A, D, C, and minerals like zinc, iron, copper, selenium play a role. The next response is going to be the inflammation response. So infection has happened. So how do we understand this infection? That is, the next step is inflammatory response. The reddening and the swelling of that area where the infection has happened. So this inflammatory response is an adaptive response which starts, and this regulation of inflammation is specifically done by the vitamins A, C, E, B6, and minerals like zinc, iron, copper, selenium, and magnesium. So how do they play a vital role? Most of the vitamins which I have mentioned are going to be an antioxidant. For example, vitamin C is an antioxidant. Vitamin E or alpha tocopherol is a natural antioxidant. If adequate amount of vitamin E is there, then vitamin C will provide its role. And vitamin A is going to be an anti-inflammatory vitamin. So they play a vital role in inflammation, providing the antioxidant effect and effects in the oxidative burst. So tissues can be damaged by the pathogens or other factors that is entering into the body, can be variety of toxins or pollutants or due to trauma and extreme temperatures. So it elicites an inflammatory response that removes any material that the site of the injury. For example, a small needle or there is a glass piece that enters. What happens if it is not removed? It creates an inflammation in that area. So that is the site of the injury, inflammation, because a foreign material has entered there. It significantly reduces the spread of the pathogens to other tissues and prepares the site for the tissue repair. So vitamins A, D, C, B6, and E, and minerals like zinc, iron, copper, selenium, magnesium. All these 5 minerals are adequately needed for all the process in the immune response. Now coming to adaptive immunity. Till now, I showed you the role of these micronutrients in the innate immunity. What happens in case of adaptive immunity? As I said, it is a specific immunity, but it's a slower process, defends the body against the specific invading agents again provoked by the antigens. So based on the nature of the antigens, the B cell will produce the immunoglobulins and antibodies, and the T cells will start to differentiate. So specifically, the T helper cells start to differentiate into Th1 and Th2 type of cells, for which the proliferation, differentiation should happen. You require adequate amount of these vitamins A, D, C, E, B6, B12, and minerals like zinc, copper, selenium, and iron. So the adaptive immunity, as I told you earlier, it can be humoral or cell-mediated immunity. If it is going to be the humoral, it is B cells. So you need to activate the B cells, and the respective antibodies needs to be produced to recognize the antigen, for which all these vitamins are essential. In case of cell-mediated immunity, the activation of the APC should happen, that is the antigen presenting cell, and cytotoxic T cell response should take place adequately and properly to defend our system. Differentiation, proliferation, and normal functioning of the T cells, we require these vitamins. Vitamin C or ascorbic acid especially is adequately required to promote the proliferation of lymphocytes, results in increased generation of antibodies. We know whenever there is an infection, the first thing that is shown as a marker in the body is increased WBC count. So increased WBC count is a defense mechanism to come across. So we raise the temperature. Fever will be the main cause. So fever is again a defense mechanism to increase the temperature and defend the particular pathogens. So vitamins A, D, C, B6, B12, and folic acid and minerals like zinc, iron, copper, and selenium is necessary for this process. Coming to the humoral immunity, antibody production and development, you require the antibodies to be produced based on the antigen. For example, in case of this virus, immunoglobulin A, immunoglobulin G, and immunoglobulin M will be produced. Having understood about all these essential role of these micronutrients in every step of the immune system, if the question is there, I'm taking adequate amount of vitamins and I'm taking adequate amount of minerals through my food is very rich in all these things, then why am I deficient? Yes, it can happen because you have another terminology coming here is bioavailability. Bioavailability, how much of nutrients is available to the cells to do the function, that is called the bioavailability, or I can define it as availability of vitamins in the blood circulation and their effect in the body. So how much amount is taken, absorbed by the blood circulation, transported to the target cells to produce their effect. So for which proper absorption is required in your gastrointestinal tract, and uptake should be proper by the cells. These are the two factors. Food is consumed, digested, absorbed. The absorbed materials is transported via the blood circulation. That is proper absorption. But once even your absorption is proper, if your target cells are not able to take these nutrients due to the lack of certain proteins or lack of receptors or lack of certain factors that is essential for binding, what happens is that uptake of these nutrients by the target cells will not be achieved. So these are the main two factors that affect the bioavailability of these nutrients. So what are the other factors that is going to play a role? Age, sex, physiological condition like pregnancy. So also it depends on the type of amount of the nutrient digested along with the body. For example, if I'm going to take coffee and tea in large amount, what happens, even if my food is rich in all these nutrients, it hinders my absorption of these micronutrients. So it depends on the amount of nutrients that is digested along with the body. So here the hyperlink I have provided here, you can go through this hyperlink, and it's a very good mini review that has been given about the key role players. So coming to, I'm just going to give a brief description of only the essential vitamins and the mineral that is needed for this COVID crisis. So the aim of all my webinars is to boost your immune system, and I want to project the role of the immune boosters in our body. So the only weapon we have is our immune system. Any means of increasing the defense or any means of improving our immune system is critical and vital at this pandemic crisis. So vitamin C or ascorbic acid, it's a very essential micronutrients for humans because one, when I said essential, it cannot be produced by our system. Humans lack a key enzyme that is very important in the production of this vitamin C. So endogenous production does not occur. So you are dependent only on the exogenous source, that is through food. So it becomes an essential commodity. So an essential micronutrient for humans with pleiotropic functions, variety of functions related to its ability to donate electrons. So it is a potent antioxidant. So collectively, I can say it can act on the epithelial barrier because vitamin C is very important for the collagen formation. Collagen is very important to maintain the integrity of our barriers. Stabilization protects against the ROS-induced damage as an antioxidant, enhances the keratinocyte differentiation that is in the skin, and lipid synthesis, enhance fibroblastic proliferation and migration, shorten the times to wound healing in patients. This is very important, especially since I'm working in a diabetic foot ulcer area. We know how important the wound healing process should happen. Otherwise, it becomes a non-healing wound and amputation will be the end point of the process. So phagocytes. Phagocytes, both neutrophils and macrophages, it can act as an antioxidant, enhances the motility, that is nothing but chemotaxis, enhances the phagocytosis and ROS generation and destroys the microbes. Apoptosis is facilitated in order to remove the viruses, decreased necrosis and netosis. Netosis is nothing but neutrophil extracellular trap, a programmed trap death pathway initiated in mature neutrophils by the pathogens and the inflammatory markers. And in case of B and T lymphocytes, it enhances both differentiation and proliferation. So it produces large amount of antibodies that is required for the type of the antigen. Inflammatory mediators in inflammatory response, it modulates cytokines and decreases the histamine levels. We know histamine are the chemicals that are produced from histidine amino acid whenever by the mast cells, whenever there is a presence of antigen. So here I have shown you a picture and also the hyperlink. You can come across this in the come across this paper where it shows the role of vitamin C in phagocyte alone. So you can see the neutrophil, which is going to be a phagocyte, and this is the blood vessel. When the neutrophil comes across, now what happens is that it increases the chemotaxis. So it enhances, first is, this is a blood vessel, so it's a tissue, so it has to come across. So the first one is migration in response to chemoattractants. So chemoattractants are which causes the chemotaxis movement, and it enhances the phagocytosis. Phagocytosis, that is, we know about the phagocytosis of amoeba, which is same way the process will happen here, and the pathogens will be engulfed. Third is it stimulates the ROS killing. Reactive oxygen species will be generated, and it results in the destruction of this microbe. Vitamin C supports caspase-dependent apoptosis, enhancing uptake and clearance by the macrophages, inhibits the necrosis and netosis, thus supporting the resolution of inflammatory response and attenuating the tissue damage. So you can see one micronutrient, vitamin C, has vital role in one particular component called the neutrophil. So this is very, very important because especially both as an antioxidant, as an immune booster. So how much vitamin C do you need? So adequately for a healthy non-smoking individuals, we require how much? In case of teenage boys, 14 to 18 years, you require 75 milligram per day. Whereas in case of girls, 14 to 18 years, 65 milligram per day. Men between 19 to older age require 90 milligram, and women 19 to older age 75 milligram, and the requirement increases to 85 milligram during pregnancy and 120 milligram during lactation. So if people who have the smoking habit need at least an extra 35 milligram of vitamin C to compensate that per day. The next vitamin is anti-inflammation vitamin, so-called, that is called the vitamin A. So please go through this hyperlink which shows the role of this vitamin A in case of this inflammation and infection in the viral processes. Normally, we know, every one of us know that vitamin A is essential for our vision, growth, and development. But apart from this, it protects the epithelium and mucous integrity, especially in the gastrointestinal tract and the nasal tract or the respiratory tract. And development of the immune system, regulatory roles in the cellular immune response and humoral, both cell-mediated and the humoral immunity, to form epithelial cells, that is to produce the normal epithelial tissue, mucous tissue, which is going to be the first physical barrier defense against the invasion of pathogens. The retinoic acid, the derivative of vitamin A, lowers inflammation by inhibiting the release of markers, inflammatory factors of macrophages. So this is normally the RDA that is provided for both male and female, and 300 microgram you have to take for male age 1 to 3 years, same for female, and in case of female for adult 700, and for pregnancy and lactation it will be increased because it's a physiological process where we need to support both mother and the fetus. Now there is a question that biosynthesis of vitamin A. Suppose we have two types of foods, vegetarian and non-vegetarian. In case of vegetarian food, we don't get vitamin A directly, whereas in case of non-veg food materials like meat, what happens is that it becomes a direct source. When any vegetable materials, for example, carrot, a papaya, whatever it is taken, the pigment, the colored pigment that is present is nothing but the carotenoids. So you have alpha carotene, beta carotene, and gamma carotene. And in case of tomato, it is going to be the lycopene. Whatever it is, these colored pigments are very good phytochemicals that has antioxidant activity. Now, when the carrot is consumed, it is not the vitamin A that is taken directly. You take large amount of beta carotene. So this beta carotene, as soon as it enters the body, it is converted into vitamin A in two forms, retinaldehyde, that is retinol, and retinol, retinal and retinol. So this red orange pigment that is found in these vegetables will be converted from beta carotene to vitamin A. But beta carotene is a very good, as such it is a very good scavenger of singlet oxygen, and it is essentially required in case of cancer, because singlet oxygen is produced large amount during the reactive oxygen pathway. The next vitamin is going to be our favorite vitamin D, which is very important, and many clinical trials are proceeding globally about this use of vitamin D in COVID-19. Please go to the NIH website where you can see many clinical trials, and if you go through my YouTube channel, you can see a collective clinical trial data I have given regarding this vitamin D, vitamin C, and vitamin A being used for the adjuvant, as an adjuvant for the COVID-19 patients. So vitamin D, collectively, we saw many things. So here it is going to be the antimicrobial response, chemotaxis, phagocytosis, cytokines, and all the cytotoxic cells, T helper cells, differentiation, dendritic cells, which is one of the cell, immune cells, maturation. So it favors both innate and adaptive immune response. Vitamin D deficiency. So you can tell me, no, I'm living in India where we have an adequate amount of sunlight and I'm coming across the sunlight directly. Even though it is there, many individuals, you can come across the epidemiology papers where vitamin D deficiency is happening in a sun-drenched tropical country like ours. And it is surprising to find 85% of the Indian population are deficient in vitamin D. So why this happens? Even though we have adequate amount of sunlight, it is because it is generally widespread. It is due to the urbanization and indoor lifestyle habits, migration of dark skin population to low sun environment when the skin type is evolved to be optimal for high sun environment. Normally, we have this vitamin D synthesis between 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., which is where the sunlight will have rich amount of UVC, which is required. UVB. So here I have projected the RDA of the vitamin D, but this is going to be the sun, the ultimate energy source is going to be the best source for the vitamin D, even though you can get through the fortified foods, etc. Expose yourself to sunlight at least 15 minutes, 3 times per week. That is fair enough to get enough vitamin D in your body. If vitamin D is deficient, calcium absorption is also affected. And calcium absorption is affected, it reflects on your bone and muscle. So the next vitamin, which is the last one, which is very important as an antioxidant. So we have different types of tocopherols, out alpha tocopherol, beta, gamma, etc. This particular alpha tocopherol is one which is required by the body, and it is a natural antioxidant, and it is a chain breaking antioxidant. It prevents, it can protect, our cells are covered by membrane. Now these membranes, according to Singer-Nicholson model, it is made up of bilayer of lipids where proteins are embedded as integral proteins and the peripheral proteins. So if your membrane integrity is maintained well, then the structural integrity is important for functional integrity. Now, if there is a damage to the membrane, then what happens? Leakage of the content and entry of variety of components into the cell. So your balance, or there is an imbalance of your cellular work can happen. So vitamin E protects. So vitamin E as an antioxidant protects the phospholipids that is present on the layer of this membrane. So it protects the polyunsaturated fatty acids. So we have 3 types of polyunsaturated fatty acids, which comes as an essential fatty acid: linoleic, and arachidonic acid. And if you see the phospholipids of the membrane, mainly phosphatidylinositol, and the second carbon atom is going to be the arachidonic acid. It's a 20 carbon fatty acid, which is very much important for maintaining this phospholipid function. Now, this polyunsaturated fatty acid integrity is maintained by this fat-soluble antioxidant called vitamin E. It prevents the auto-oxidation of the lipids, thereby regulating the production of ROS and reactive nitrogen species and modulate the signal transduction pathways. So here I have projected there are a variety of functions as an immune booster, but to represent I have collectively put together. Here it can, so thus it can suppresses the PGE2 prostaglandins and increases T cell proliferation. See, prostaglandin pathway is due to the hydrolysis of this phospholipid that is present on the cell membrane. Whenever there is a phospholipase C is being activated, arachidonic acid is being hydrolyzed from the phospholipid, which will be used by the cyclooxygenases enzyme or the COX enzyme to produce the prostaglandins, or it enter into the prostaglandins or leukotrienes. So that is being suppressed and T cell proliferation is increased. So it can act on the macrophages, on the dendritic cells, the innate immunity, and in case of adaptive, it can act on T cells, B cells, and the natural NK cells. So I have collectively discussed about the significance and the role of each vitamin A, D, C, and E in immune function alone. Now I'm going to tell you the role of the important mineral, especially for the viral infection, that is zinc. So zinc is one of the components that is required for the antiviral immunity. Zinc is a gatekeeper of the immune function, and zinc ions, Zn2+ ions. Zinc ions are involved in regulating intracellular signaling pathways, both in innate and adaptive immune cells. The recommended dietary allowance of zinc for an average adult male is 11 milligram, and the requirement increases from 8 milligram to 12 milligram in females during the physiological changes like pregnancy and lactation. What is the role of this zinc? It is very important to increase the cytotoxic activity of NK cells. NK cells kill the infected cells, and the pathogen inside are released, destroyed through phagocytosis by the neutrophils and the macrophage cells. Act as an anti-inflammatory agent, maintain immune tolerance as it induces the development of type of T cells called T regulatory cells, and mitigates the development of pro-inflammatory cells, the T helper cells 17 and 9. Involved in antibody production, particularly IgG. This is the important antibody that is being produced whenever virus enters the body. So here I have provided the hyperlink. This is the proposed protective mechanism of zinc in COVID-19. Now, if you see each processes, for example, number one says the mucociliary clearance. So mucociliary clearance, that is the hairs that is present, how it helps and how it prevents the entry of these pathogens. Zinc increases the ciliary beat of these hairs frequently, and thus improving the clearance and removal of bacteria and viruses that may enter the nasotract or the respiratory tract. That is the first mechanism, that is called the barrier function. The second mechanism is it prevents. So for a life cycle to happen, it requires a host. So as the previous speaker was telling you about the importance of the receptor, ACE receptor 2, which is going to be the receptor for this viruses. Now this receptor is present in the type 2 pneumocytes of the respiratory tract. Now when it recognizes the receptor, it has different mechanism. First, it attaches, it penetrates, it starts to replicate, and then it forms a complex. That complex will be hydrolyzed, and the new viral particles will be produced, and the new viral particles which are germinated will be released out of the cell by the membrane endocytosis, and the production multiplication happens. So here, the life cycle is prevented in the host by the presence of zinc. How? Because zinc inhibits an enzyme called RNA-dependent RNA polymerase enzyme. Thus, it inhibits the replication of virus. We know very well that COVID virus is going to be a single-stranded ssRNA, positive sense RNA virus. So, it requires the enzyme RNA-dependent RNA polymerase for its replication to happen. If zinc is going to become a inhibitor, then the life cycle can be prevented. The third mechanism is through immunomodulation. It produces immunomodulation activity. That is, whenever the virus enters, interferons, as I told you earlier, are the protein particles that is being produced to recognize and kill these pathogens. So zinc helps in the production of interferon alpha. The fourth mechanism, proposed mechanism, is that it can act on the inflammatory responses. So that means it has an anti-inflammatory effect, preventing the cytokine storm production that is leading to SARS, or severe acute respiratory syndrome. And the fifth proposed mechanism is that because the immune system is suppressed, because the immune system is not strong enough to withstand this, what happens is that co-infection is possible in case of COVID. So the co-infection is going to be the pneumonia. So pneumonia is going to be the combined infection that is going to happen. So which leads to the death or the death of that particular individual. So it prevents zinc-induced inhibition. So zinc inhibits the infection caused by this bacteria. So bacterial infection is being prevented. So collectively, either of the mechanism can happen in the lungs or in the respiratory pathway, which is going to be the major site for this COVID-19. Then the question arises, what happens when there is a high risk factor presence? So high risk factors: 1, aging; 2, diabetes, obesity, atherosclerosis, or people who have immune deficiency. So immune deficiency can happen due to the inadequate diet or supply of these micronutrients, or due to some other immunosuppressive drugs that is being taken. So this becomes the risk factor. The same are the risk factors for the zinc deficiency. So it says that they are interlinked. Zinc deficiency risk factors can be the risk factors for this COVID-19 also, leading to the mortality. So that is, in case of zinc deficiency, this is how it happens. It reduces the PMN cells, reduces the chemotaxis, so it reduces both innate and the adaptive immunity. So this is the only mineral, I cannot say it's the only mineral, this is the most important, significant mineral that is necessary at this juncture, at this crisis. And iron deficiency is common in India. So if iron deficiency anemia happens, now iron deficiency is always interlinked. So if there is a deficiency of iron, what happens is that the vitamin C that is present in the citrus fruits will not be made available. So that is one. So eat variety of foods, iron-rich foods, and help them to absorb. So these are the factors that is required. So if vitamin C is less, absorption of iron is reduced. And also coffee and tea, as I told you earlier, it will affect the absorption of these micronutrients. So now you understood, hope you understood collectively the importance of each micronutrients. to simple, it is food. Food. I'm taking food daily, but still, why am I deficient, or why am I taking supplements? If your food is enough, if your food is rich in all these vitamins and minerals, there is no need for these supplements. So, what are the measures you can undertake to improve your immunity? Along with this nutrition, also balance your life. So adopt a healthy lifestyle, reduce stress. As I told you earlier, stress have negative impact on the production of WBC, which is a very important first line of defense mechanism. Exercise. Exercise may promote the cardiovascular health, lower the blood pressure. Also, the diabetes condition helps to control body weight and offers protection against diseases. Eat a well-balanced diet with adequate amount of fruits and vegetables, because colored fruits and vegetables have large amount of phytonutrients. These phytonutrients have variety of functions, protective function in our body. Get enough sleep. Studies show that people who get an optimal sleep of 7 to 8 hours for adults and 10 hours for children and teenagers are less likely to be at risk of these viral infections. That means sleep has to be balanced to promote a healthy life. The next very important part is water. Water is an important component of a balanced diet. So stay hydrated. Proper nutrition and hydration are vital to protect ourselves from the host, as a host to protect ourselves from this pathogenic interaction. Stay hydration. Stay hydrated. 8 to 10 glasses of water has to be consumed every day to make yourself hydrated, and boiled water is necessary, and avoid carbonated drinks. So some of the clippings of World Health Organization I want to show you at this pandemic situation. Please, when you go out, so the government is emphasizing on wearing a mask. Definitely we need to wear the mask. Proper wearing of this mask. So this is a clipping showing that how to wear your mask, and before wearing your mask you need to wash your hands, and this and proper disposal is also very essential. Remember that mask alone cannot protect you from COVID-19. Maintain at least 1 meter distance from others and wash your hands frequently and thoroughly while wearing a mask. So there are questions. I'm wearing mask for a long time and it is comfortable. But who answer is that? Because I'm a LinkedIn member, I see variety of updates of WHO regarding the COVID pandemic situation. It says that it does not lead to carbon dioxide intoxication nor oxygen deficiency or hypoxia. While wearing, we should see to that it fits properly and tight enough to allow you to breathe normally. So do not reuse a disposable mask, and always change it as soon as you get damped. So medical mask, as I say, it is only worn by the medical people. We can use the cloth mask, that is better. People should not, we see many people wearing mask and doing exercises, but who says that people should not wear mask when exercising, as mask may reduce the ability to breathe comfortably? See, during exercise we are increasing our metabolism, and also sweat that is produced during the exercise phenomena can wet the mask, and this moisture will not be absorbed and it will create a difficulty in breathing. This is one question that is normally asked: can shoes spread the COVID-19 virus? But who says that? You have to keep the shoes outside when you go out, especially in the houses where there are infants and small children who crawl up, play on the floors, so that infection can be prevented. So when you're going to a grocery shop, keep at least a 1 meter distance from others, and do not touch your eyes, mouth and nose. Have a sanitizer with you always, so that you can sanitize there. And once you return home, first initial thing is wash your hands thoroughly and also after handling and storing your purchased products. There is no currently confirmed cases where it can be transmitted through food or food packing. And this is one of the important point which I want to stress. Be active. We know we are in a lockdown situation where we are not allowed to go outside, but even though we are not going outside, we have to maintain our activity. So active status is very important. So be active at home during COVID-19 outbreak. Regularly check, especially we work at home, both professionally and our household work. So regularly check your sitting posture while working at home. Break your sitting and stand up while working on the phone or watching TV. So you can have short breaks that will prevent the negative impact on too much sitting. Walk up and down the stairs. If you have a terrace, go to the terrace. Expose yourself to sunlight. So activity and production of vitamin D can happen. Do some stretching exercises to enable the blood flow. If your interest is in music, turn on your music, whatever your favorite music, dance. So music will soothe your brain, and also dance will enable the activity reaction to happen. So metabolically you become fit. Seek more ideas. Make yourself active. Uh, find out your talents. You see your talent, right? If you are interested in cooking, write more cookery ideas. Provide this online to others. So make your resources online. If you are a teacher, teach online teaching. This will enable your brain activity as well as physically you are made active. So physical and mental activity is more important. So these are the most important things I want to stress regarding this immunity, nutrition status, and what are the things that you have to do. Now, during this lockdown period, our team, our team made up of medical professional teams who are working in the COVID situation in the government medical colleges. We came together during this lockdown period and produced certain products. So this is one of the product is reusable herbal face mask, and it is a normal face mask where we used, because it has gone for patent, I'm not telling you the name of the plants which are being used. So you can see a pocket where the herbs are being introduced, and this is reusable and it can be washed. So these are the advantages of the material which we used. And another thing is the torch. This is a UV torch which can be used as a sanitizer. And it is portable and a handy tool which we can sanitize the documents, car keys, mobiles, etc. So we got NABL accreditation for this, and we have applied for provisional patent also. And this is a UV hand sanitizer. So based on the research, so our expert team here is going to be again a medical team. It's a multidisciplinary team who are a laser specialist and an industrialist and a general medicine and a dermatologist and me, the clinical trial person. We have joined together and to produce these products, and we got the clearance from NABL also. So final thing what I want to tell you is, for a viral disease like COVID-19, where there is no pharmacological strategies for prevention or treatment is available at present, and also the exact time of the ending of this alarming situation is not known to us, and it is unknown. So what can we do? Nutritional strategies for enhancing immunity is something that needs to be explored. So the only your immune system, the final wording what I want to tell you is, your immune system is your vaccine today. So take that vaccine, support that vaccine, support your immune system through food, through mental physical and mental balance, keep your immune system always active to come across this infection. Thank you. So my aim through all these webinars, I told you, because of this COVID situation, I want to emphasize on only one theme: boost our immune system. So immune system has to be boosted through the boosters like micronutrients, vitamins and minerals. Thank you for the opportunity provided.